Welcome to Salcedo Paranormal, and tonight I'm going to cover paranormal news. As always, you can find all episodes of the show, along with links to social media and other ways to contact me at the podcast page, and that is salcedoparanormal.podbean.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.podbean.com. Always happy to hear from y'all, whether you have comments or questions or topic suggestions or stories of paranormal experiences, whether they're your own or from others that you trust. Happy to either read those or have you join me on the show to talk about them. Thank you all for listening, whether you are here for the live streams or you listen on the podcast or YouTube feeds, or if you listen on the Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP, Digital Broadcasting, at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, 7 nights a week as of now, in the hour right before Troubled Minds Radio. If you'd like to support the show, there are a few ways to do that. Of course, there are always expenses in making these shows, even though I do release them for free because I prefer to do that. Excuse me. If you'd like to support the show, you can always share it with others and review and rate it on the platform of your choice. I also have paranormal fiction and nonfiction books available to check out on Amazon.com. And then you can also make direct donations to the show to support it if you would like to see it keep getting bigger and better. So, I think that covers everything for now. And I think I can get on with the stories. I already put the articles, in the Discord in a different channel just so that it's not filling up the entire chat channel here. The links are all in show notes and sources. And we will get through as many as we can in this show today. I'm going to take more time with them the same way I did with the true paranormal stories from the web the other day. I really, for me anyway, I prefer that format. It was a lot easier, a lot more relaxed. Not trying to rush everything, so that's how I'm going to do things from now on. So hopefully you all still enjoy the show. So getting to the articles here. This first one is from fox2now.com. This is a local station over in, I believe, in Missouri. It says, Missouri morgue, now a paranormal Airbnb destination. And I've never heard of quite that situation. I've heard of course, morgues being haunted. I've heard of Airbnbs being haunted. This is the first time I've heard of the one leading right to the other, as far as being changed into the other. And I always had mixed feelings about that, just because I feel bad for whoever or whatever might be there that then has to deal with people coming and going all the time. I think as long as the people that are running it sort of lay down some rules about being respectful and all those things, then maybe that can minimize the negative effects on everything, on everyone. But it's still, I think, sort of a mixed bag there of results for overall, I guess you could say. So this location is known as the Historic Morgue. It's in Missouri. And mentions that on the front porch of the property there are basically it's an older building, and again, this used to be a morgue before it was purchased a couple of different times and became what it is now. So it says the building had been vacant for a while before someone named Alta bought it, and it had before served as the Christian County Museum for 3 decades. That's quite a while. And it mentions that the history of ownership and the exact year of construction are still unknown. So that's really amazing, because to me that says it's either a lot. I mean, it could be really a lot older than people may expect, or there's just a lack of records. Mentions that the cornerstone has an 1800 date on it. The steeple is thought to have been taken down in 1906, according to Alta, who is the owner of the historic morgue. So it was apparently the morgue at the time. When it was a morgue, it was the Ozark Undertaking Company, which was so it's been a few different things even within that realm, but it was also a church for a while. So you have that energy as well, starting in the early 1900s. So the location had been on sale for a long time. Says that Alta did not originally want to buy it, but decided to check it out along with her mom and visit the property anyway. And apparently, at the time, it was a volunteer-run museum, and so it needed a lot of repairs. And it was also, there was going to be at some point apparently the possible danger of it being torn down. So Alta actually put in the offer and bought it, even though she didn't have the money. And then, basically, let me see here. From there, went about figuring out how to come up with everything. So, but even as she walked around the property, she learned about the past of the location as a funeral home, and she set up an antique shop, and in the location, which was known as the Church Street Antiques and More. Again, there's another sort of possible source for activity, antiques. So apparently in 2019, they had fundraisers, live music, and a buffet bar. And it was all donations only, to raise money for the community. So, but getting to the, it goes over the history over the next several years through the 20 teens and then into more current, or the current situation. And so this location was turned into at one point a Airbnb, and the owners. Now let me see here. I'm guessing that still includes Alta. Let me see here. But let me see. I'm looking at this article here. So, there were people reported having motion lights in the halls going off on and off all night. There were sounds. This is from people that went and stayed there. Sounds at various times throughout the night. Apparently this was from investigators that were able to check the place out. And got some responses with the different technology they used in terms of words. And apparently even had a small rock thrown at them inside. Now that's always an amazing thing when rocks, not so much the big ones because you don't want to be hurt, but tiny ones are just appear and then are thrown in the direction of the people that are there out of nowhere. Looking at the rest of this here. So Alta believed the spirits liked her because she saved the building, but still claims to be a skeptic. And but apparently, I'm looking to see if this was her saying what this next paragraph says. I guess that must be from her. So it says that she's seen things move on their own, and so let's see here. So she'll make sure that there's no other possibilities there. Okay, yep, I was right there. But then there are still some things that happen where they can't be easily explained. So, and then she set up the Airbnb so that other people could have that similar experience, which is, in a way, it's amazing. Again, like I said, it's double-edged sword, but that part of it is amazing. Let's see. It says that the spirits at the morgue have been peaceful and not malevolent, according to Alta. And this that mentions the important thing here. She says that guests should show respect for the spirits and refrain from engaging in any harmful behavior that could harm future guests or the building. So definitely agree with that. Also, she recommends that when leaving the building, guests thank the spirits and ask that they do not follow them home. So, let me see here. Looking at the rest of this, I think that's it in this article. So, neat article there. I would check the place out if I could. Yeah, I always like to hear about these places where they do acknowledge the paranormal that may be going on there, and they may sort of use it to keep the place going, but they try not to exploit it too much, in that they're not negative towards it. So, oh wow, hello, I see there in the chat. APOC, good to see you here again. And let me see here, who else is here? And PDG, thank you both for being here again. Good to see APOC in the chat there. It's been a little while. And, but yeah, neat article there, and I think with that I can move on to the next one. I think I'll do one more before I go to the two that I really want to get to. So let's see here. This next one is, okay, there we go. This is from KLAQ.com, and it says El Paso Theater gets creepy honor as one of Texas' most haunted, and that's the title of the article there. It says that this is mentions that the town itself, El Paso, or the downtown section of it, has been basically is thought to be a paranormal hotspot because of a lot of weather events, extreme weather events, and then other plagues apparently, like of course violence and other causes of untimely death. And then one of those spots known for this sort of this presence is this theater. And apparently a list of the 5 most haunted spots in Texas included this theater. And let's see here. Looking for the name. Okay. Actually, I think it's the Plaza Theater. Okay. And says the theater was originally built in 1930, so it's almost 100 years old now, and ran from then until 1987. And so that's 57 years. The writer says that they've been there late at night after concerts and other events were over, and apparently they say that when they were alone wandering the halls and backstage area, it felt creepy to them. So makes you wonder if there really are presences there. The writer says they've never seen anything there, but they've always felt watched in those back areas and once thought that they heard their name. So, according to other reports, there have been apparitions including orbs, lights, and shadows, physical manipulations like electrical components switching on without power. Wow, that's always amazing. Objects moving independently, and sounds without sources, manifestations such as being touched, having phantom smells or fragrances or things like that. Temperatures have changed. And so, yeah, just a lot of different things there. So, let's see here. Mentions that there were, for many years after that initial run of the place being open, the place started to get run down, and but it was at one point, and so yeah, after 87 is when all that started. But it was renovated, fully renovated, and reopened in 2006. And so it's still used today. So it sounds like an amazing place to visit, with a lot of activity there. So that's it for that one. I think doing this new slower format, that means I have time for one more article. That's going to be hard to choose here. Let's see here. All right. I think I'll go with this one. This one is from yourtango.com. I'll save the other one for next time, the next news show. It says, the eerie shadow figures that have haunted California's Big Sur hikers for centuries. And this is about, again, like I said, shadow figures. It says that, there's a subtitle here. It says, do you ever get the creepy feeling you are being watched? Again, that sort of came up in that last article there. And so this is about this legend and mythology regarding to this location. Of course, it mentions other locations around the U.S., the Bridgewater Triangle, some other places there. But there's this one legend, and I'd never heard of this before, and I'm wondering if anyone else has, in this location, where they're known, these shadow figures are known as the Dark Watchers. And this legend, these legendary figures have been described as tall, black figures that are featureless and often wear brimmed hats and carry walking sticks. Now, the hat thing is fairly common, but the walking stick feature is something different. It says they've apparently mostly been spotted at twilight or dawn, so the edges of the night, basically. Says that no one has claimed to see them up close, but they apparently disappear if you approach them. And apparently they're also known to be enormous, basically giants. So they're almost like shadow giants with these hats and these walking sticks. They're all around this location known as Big Sur, California, which is a scenic, rugged, and underdeveloped section of the Santa Lucia Mountains. Again, going back to mountains, I did a whole, I think it was, we did a whole series. Jen Hawkins and I did a whole series on mountains. But if I'm remembering right, I can't remember if I had any other friends on that with me. You all can go and check out the catalog and find out. That is the one thing that is getting to be tricky now, is remembering who exactly was on what shows, now that I'm sort of doing more roundtables and all those things, so I apologize for that. But anyway, so these mountains are where the coast range forms a sharp incline from the Pacific Ocean off the coast. Legend says that the Dark Watchers sit motionless on the horizon of these mountains to look at travelers. And no one really knows where the legend came from. Apparently it goes far back, even to early Spanish settlers being there, who had their own, basically they called them the same thing but in Spanish, the Dark Watchers there. So this was back in the 1700s. So if these apparitions are still appearing, that is amazing. That's over 300 years. Well, 200 years, almost 300 years. And so people kept on seeing them. More and more people over time either had sightings of them or had this feeling of being watched from above. Mentions that they were the article says that they've been mentioned even in fiction, different poems and other stories. And so let's see here. Mentions that for 300 years people have claimed to see them, including John Steinbeck's son, Thomas. Now, John Steinbeck, of course, is a well-known writer. And so, yeah, apparently he saw them throughout his childhood. The son did. Thomas did. So, goes into more details here. It does mention there are some possible explanations for people seeing these things. But as always, my response to that is, I'm sure that can explain some things, some sightings, but how do we know that it explains them all? And if there's even just one where this is not, the person is fairly sure it was not any of these things, such as optical illusions. What are the other things here mentioned? Let's see, hallucinations from exhaustion. Again, I would think people would sort of think about that. If they're tired, then they may be able to write it off for themselves without reporting it. But mentions, now this is something else I've never heard of from coming from nature, but it says infrasound coming from mountains led to strange sensations. The main places I've heard of infrasound is connected to, of course, and I don't know much about this, if it's how accepted this is or not, but the idea of cryptids, of Bigfoot, Sasquatch, being able to use this infrasound. People have reports of feeling vibrations coming from a certain direction throughout, basically, so that their whole body is, or at least their torso is, there's a vibration going on, and they have to back up. And of course, the last one they mention is pareidolia, where people are mistaking things for other things. Their minds are sort of forming images that aren't there. But still, again, really amazing. Just the legend itself is amazing. I never heard of that before. So, and yeah, just a neat story, neat legend. And I never heard that before, so wanted to share that with you all. Thank you all for being here and listening again. Really appreciate it. And coming up on episode 400 on Wednesday, so that should be a lot of fun. I have a special topic lined up for that. And I also want to thank Michael Strange and also Liam Martin, or Rohan, of the both of Troubled Minds Radio and then also the Exiled Mind podcast, respectively, for helping to create the intro and outro music that you hear if you listen to the show on the radio station. So, and also I want to thank everyone that has been a guest on this show over time as well. If you haven't checked out the episode that just came out this morning, just the last one before this one, it is a 2-hour roundtable with Matt Sowell and Rohan, talking all about magic. So, and it's 2 full hours. So I definitely recommend you check that out. Thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you tomorrow on the next episode of Salcedo Paranormal. Take care.